talk. I'm heading out to get some coffee because I desperately need some. So we're going to engage Dark MAGA mode. Dark MAGA mode is engaged. If you've seen the thumbnail today, I'm going to go through this. President Trump has finally, as a president, done something that no other president has done. I mean, we've never had a president in our lifetimes, I believe, do anything militarily that was for the direct benefit of the American people. So we've got the president of Colombia committing an act of war on the United States in an interview yesterday, and that's what I'm going to lead with on the program when I go live on the mainstream. I consider what the Colombian president did an act of war. They've even recalled their ambassador. So I'm going to cover that. And, one of the things I'm going to talk about, people that are out there against this war on drugs that President Trump is declaring, which is absolutely amazing. Not only taking out these drug boats, but the submarine. They released the video. I retweeted it this morning. They released the video of the drug cartel submarine that we took out, and that was like a real submarine. It wasn't one of those fake submarines like those idiots that went down to the Titanic in that plexiglass thing. It looked like a real military submarine we took out. I mean, where the heck did they get that from? I don't know too much about submarines, but it was a real submarine. And I was thinking about this, all these people against freaking out over President Trump literally going to war on drugs against the cartels in Venezuela and Colombia. And I understand why they're freaking out, and I'll tell you. Now, I don't do any drugs. I don't take any prescription medications. I take an over-the-counter allergy medication that I forgot to take the last few days, so my allergies are killing me right now. But I'll take it when I get home. But I take an over-the-counter allergy medication. That's it. And a lot of you liberals in the chat here, we talk about this from time to time, are a bunch of stoners, right? But marijuana, you get it here. You can even get it legally now. It's not even like an illegal drug anymore, even though it should be. So the drugs that President Trump is stopping being imported into the United States are the hardcore ones, right? Heroin, fentanyl, cocaine. Those are the main ones. I mean, President Trump said in Colombia, they have actual cocaine factories there, right? Factories. They're not even really hidden. And while I haven't heard anybody give any numbers on this, and since I'm not a junkie, I don't have the numbers, but my guess is that there's been massive inflation on illegal drugs, heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl. That there's been a massive price increase. So all these people that are freaking out that President Trump is stopping the flow of heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl into the country, is it possible that it's just because they're on drugs? I mean, how many of big shot people that are in government and in media that are do coke, as an example, right? Cocaine and this is rich man's drugs. And my guess is that these people are freaking out over the high price of their drugs that they use all the time. Media people, politicians. I mean, it'd be very interesting to know what the average price of fentanyl, cocaine, and heroin is now as compared to a year ago. And the prices had to go up through the roof. I mean, when President Trump shut down the border, that cut off most of it right there, right? And then these drug boats that he's taken out, they're not coming by sea too much. I mean, these are kamikaze drug traffickers at this point, and it's probably not very easy for them to find people who will willingly transport drugs by boat to the United States from South America now. Who knows what types of coercion they're using. But I think a lot of these vocal people that are against the war on drugs have an interest in it. And a lot of them are probably on the drugs. Michael, been watching since 2020. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I'm here to get some coffee. I'm jonesing for some coffee. So I'll probably be live at about 20 after, something like that today, because I just have to go out and get coffee. So then I got to drive back to the studio. Welcome, everyone. If you're new, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. On my next stream, I will be in the studio taking your calls. Does anyone know what the inflation has been like on the illegal drugs, cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl? It's had to have gone up significantly, and I haven't seen anyone in the media talk about it, no analysis of it. I mean, it makes sense. Supply and demand. The supply has dwindled, so the prices had to have gone up. Is that not right? What would you guys say? Anyone know? It's possible that the illegal drugs have gone up 400% or more for the average user. So people are freaking out. All these junkies, And there's also a lot of other interest that would be, opposed to the war on drugs. I mean, the medical industry, how big is the drug rehabilitation industry in this country? Right? They have pharmaceutical drugs that treat it. There's drug rehab facilities that make boatloads of money. The drug rehab industry is a huge moneymaker. All this sober living and rehabs and all that is big money. And the government subsidizes that through Medicaid a lot. So there's a lot, and of course those pharmaceutical drugs. So there's a lot of there's a lot of like businesses that are freaking out that have a lot of money, interest, and a lot of influence over the government. But when you look at the mainstream media and liberal government officials, what percentage of them do you think are on drugs, cocaine, or fentanyl? And so they have a personal interest in keeping the flow going, and they're not happy with the president. That would be my guess. That would just be my guess. That's right, MAGA Nation. That's correct. But I was looking this morning for some information on the price of the illegal drugs and inflation, and I can't find any stories about that. In which and they got me thinking, wow, yeah, lots and lots, yes, Sue, because it's a rich man's thing, and the media and the government are rich people. Yeah, that's right, D. So they must be freaking out. I mean, I don't know. Does anyone know how much fentanyl and cocaine has gone up in price in the last year? I would say 400% or 500% is probably a very conservative estimate. Some of them may have gone up 1,000%. I mean, I know some of the drugs are made here, but not very much. I mean, you get marijuana here, which you can get anywhere. You can order it online now and have it delivered to your house legally, right? But how much cocaine and fentanyl is produced in the United States? Probably not much, especially cocaine. I mean, you can't grow fields of cocaine here like you can in South America. And these hydroponic farms and everything get busted over the electric bills and everything else. So no, this is awesome. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen how drugs have just destroyed people's lives. I may talk about it on the air today. We years ago, we had a sponsor that had drug rehab facilities and sober living houses and everything. And I would see they would bring in the addicts who were in treatment on buses. And these people were really strung out, and they were mostly young people. And I'd tell Steve about this, and they segregated them by male and female, but they would come to the treatment center to on buses, and the guys always looked really scummy, and the girls, these were all people mostly in their 20s and 30s. The girls were all like tweaker looking, but you could tell most of them that before they got all hooked on drugs were like models. And you could tell they're like girls that were victimized by men who got them doped up on things. And it was just so sad to see some of these people that were so strung out on drugs. And I'm going to talk about this on the air. We had our studio in Coral Springs, and we were there for many, many years, and the building was owned by an insurance company that advertised with us. And then the insurance company moved out of the building and sold the buildings, and the drug rehab that became a sponsor, they bought the buildings and moved their corporate offices into our building, and we stayed there. Then they advertised with us. And I would be there like at 5 a.m. And sometimes it wasn't like a rehab clinic or anything. It was like the corporate offices. But every once in a while, somebody would show up with somebody ODing in the car. And they had some addict in their family, a husband, a boyfriend, sometimes a kid. And they would panic, and they would Google, and they would find the corporate office, and they would just drive there to drop off their husband, their wife, their girlfriend, their boyfriend, their son, their daughter to rehab. And I'm like, no, this is like the corporate offices, and all this stuff. You can't drop you. And it would be like 5:30 in the morning. It was scary. First couple of times it happened, I was like freaked out. We got to call 911. It was really freaky. But it's a sad thing. And I mean, who could be against ridding America of these poisonous drugs? Who could be against that? And this war on drugs that President Trump is waging against the cartels, blowing up the boats, blowing up the submarines, and it's only a matter of time, if we're not doing it already, that we have ground operations in Latin America. They're probably already scoping it out with special forces, CIA, and all that, scoping out targets. It's probably what they're doing now. And I would not be surprised if we get some massive airstrikes in Colombia and Venezuela over these cocaine factories and stuff. This is, I think that this war is the most just war for the United States directly and the American people that we've had since the Civil War. And I know that's saying a lot, but if you think about it, how many wars have we been involved in that were for the direct interest of the United States and the American people? Of course, our great American Revolution, the War of 1812, when the British tried to take us over again, the Civil War, right? But all the wars since the Civil War, we've been fighting for other countries, right? Spanish-American War, we were fighting for freedom of Cuba. That worked out well, huh? For Cuba, please. World War I was for Europe. World War II was for Europe. Korea, Vietnam, War on Terror. I mean, I know we got attacked on 9/11, but we were there fighting in the Middle East, right? So this is the first time since the Civil War, unless I'm leaving one out, where the United States military, under the orders of our commander-in-chief, our president, is fighting a war directly for the security of the United States and the American people. I do. Am I wrong? Am I forgetting one? Well, yeah. The president, he's got the authorization to send the troops into San Francisco and Portland. That's great. You know, these cities are being terrorized by the Democrats with the crime there. You know, the war on crime is what he's fighting, the war on drugs and the war on crime, and that's going to be the main theme when I start the show today. And those, make sure you subscribe if you're new, and I'm looking forward to taking your calls on this. I'm just waiting for the coffee shop to open, but the war on crime and the war on drugs have just been statements, right? Not real wars, and that's why the drugs and the crime has gone up over the years, because no one was doing anything about it until Trump. But I do believe this is the most just war that we've been in since the Civil War. No doubt about it. The war to free the slaves from the Democrats. Now, if I'm leaving one out in between where we were at war fighting directly for the United States and the American people, please. I mean, no, I'm not saying that World War II was not a just war. Don't misunderstand me. But we were fighting for Europe. We were fighting for Asia. Were we really fighting for us? I mean, you know, I believe that I believe that FDR knew about the attack coming on Pearl Harbor before it happened. And evidence of that is that the ships that were in Pearl Harbor were mostly old ships from rust buckets, a lot of them from the First World War. In 1941, the most advanced ships that we had were aircraft carriers. They were very high-tech and new for their day, and none of the aircraft carriers were in Pearl. They were all out in the ocean. How's that possible? That's exactly right, because they knew. That's what I think, but, you know, we'll never know that for sure. Any records of that are long destroyed. But I think President Trump is doing such a beautiful, amazing thing with this war on drugs and his war on crime. So that's what I'm going to open with today when I go live in about 20 minutes on the air with your calls. And I don't see how you could be against the war on crime or the war on drugs unless you're a junkie and a criminal. I mean, you know, that's it. I mean, I've really seen some really good, successful people get hooked on drugs, and that's it. I remember Steve had a friend who was a very successful businessman, and somehow this guy got hooked on cocaine. And I remember this guy, he died in a motorcycle accident, probably because he was coked up. But we were at the radio station with him. He had a very successful business, and I'd not seen him in years. Either did Steve. And he came in to record commercials. He couldn't sit in the chair to record in the studio for more than like 3 or 4 minutes. He kept leaving. And I said to Steve, "What the hell's going on?" He's like, he's such a junkie. He's going out to the car to do coke. It was really sad. So Steve told him to, goodbye. I mean, you got to go get some help. You know, we didn't end up recording the commercial, or, you know. He was a friend of Steve's from years ago, and he had started a new business and wanted to advertise. And we had just talked to him on the phone, and he came in, and we didn't advertise for him. He was just too, it was really, really sad. And then he went to rehab, and then he left rehab, and then he got killed. It's really sad. It's really sad. I don't know what's fascist about stopping the flow of drugs and ending crime in American cities. I mean, I don't know what kind of fascist action that is. You know, these trolls, they use words they don't even understand. I do want to say, though, for those that are Patreon supporters, Patreon has a new feature where I do live streams just like this to my Patreon supporters. It just opened up on Friday. So if you're a Patreon supporter, you get access to this. And it's a chat just like this, except it's on the Patreon platform. So if you become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description to my Patreon page. You get to take part in those chats, and it is a troll-free zone. It's a troll-free zone. So, you know, if trolls become MAGA supporters, I kick them out. I don't let them. So, but, well, you can believe what you want, but you don't even understand the words that you're using. Exactly. Yeah. Kelly. Trolls aren't intelligence creatures. That is so true, Sue's Zoo. Oh, man. All right. So coffee shop's open. I'm going to get my coffee. I'll see you live on the air in about 20 minutes. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you then. And this is what I'm going to open with because I think it's a pretty important subject, and I hope you do too.